It all started with the best of intentions and the highest of hopes, but the relationship between Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat is officially and completely dead. They once came very close to winning an NBA Finals, but now Butler and the team's front office never want to work together again. Things have drastically changed, but why? How did it all get so bad? Fans once thought Butler would have a statue honoring him outside the Heat's arena, and now they are dangerously close to burning his jersey in the streets. Time for a deep dive into all the drama that led to such a bitter breakup between Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat.
Takes on Lively and scored! He twisted that.
Let's go back to when it all started, when the Heat felt they had something special with Jimmy and the sky was the limit. When he was signed to the Heat in 2019, it felt like destiny and like the beginning of something really important. The next great chapter for the Heat had arrived, and a Larry O'Brien trophy couldn't be too far behind. The Heat had always prided itself on being a franchise that had grit, determination, guts, and an unstoppable desire for greatness. And Jimmy Butler personified all of that. Here was a fighter and someone who wouldn't stop until he pushed himself and his teammate to their limits. One part Kobe Bryant, one part Michael Jordan, Jimmy Butler was quite simply him. And right away, his move to Miami paid off. The Heat's president, Pat Riley, was very happy with what he saw from Butler, and it seemed like Jimmy could someday be a legend of the team like Dwayne Wade and Alonzo Mourning before him. His work ethic is unmatched, his intensity non-stop, his respect from other players next level. Jimmy Butler was the definition of a franchise star. They became legitimate contenders quickly, and when the 2020 NBA bubble arrived, Jimmy cemented his legacy as one of the most clutch players of all time. Game 3 of the finals, the Heat were down 2-0 against the Los Angeles Lakers. There is nothing more must-win than that, and Jimmy came to play. In 45 minutes, he scored 40 points, 11 rebounds, and 13 assists, all while staying on top of LeBron James. It was nothing short of amazing, and everyone saw the sort of competitor he could really be. Playoff Jimmy was born, and he would show up a few more times, most notably when he helped lead the Heat all the way to the finals again a couple of years later against the Denver Nuggets. Jimmy's attitude, confidence, and skill powered his team up and kept them strong even when everyone else counted them out.
Looking for a shot, backs in, turns, shoots and scores, and the Heat take a 1-point lead.
But problems were brewing and trouble was on the horizon. Firstly, the Heat always came close, but not close enough. The team was never able to fully capitalize on all its talent and failed to win a championship together. How could they get so close and not seal the deal? Was another piece needed? Was Jimmy just not a good enough leader? Questions started to pop up around the league and in the media, and it created a sliver of conflict between Jimmy and the team's front office. Some reports were stating that Jimmy was none too happy with a few of the younger players on the roster who didn't have his same relentless work ethic and intensity. Butler demanded a lot from himself and everyone else, and seeing others who didn't left a sour taste in his mouth, and he reportedly started to blame the team's management, including Pat Riley himself. NBA fans heard stories of Jimmy getting into it with Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, commanding them to play harder and smarter. Tension grew in the locker room and things began to escalate. Then in the 2022-23 season, more drama arrived. One of the most talked about moments of Jimmy's career came when he was spotted on camera cursing out head coach Eric Spoelstra during a timeout. Obviously, the incident went viral and it had a lot of people wondering what was going on with the Heat. Sure, we have all seen players go at it against each other, but things are really toxic when a star goes against his own coach. Meanwhile, there were those saying the front office wasn't doing enough to support Jimmy and his Herculean efforts to keep the team on track. Why didn't they commit to more trades? Why didn't they give him a stronger supporting cast? When Damian Lillard wanted to move from the Portland Trail Blazers to the Heat, why didn't Riley move heaven and earth to make it happen? Questions swirled around Miami, and it felt like everything was starting to fall apart. How could this situation possibly continue? Spoiler alert, it couldn't. It all came to a head stop last season when Jimmy sadly missed the playoffs because of an injury. The Heat, who had surprised everyone many times before, fell flat and didn't go far in the postseason. Jimmy spoke to the press and made a comment saying that wouldn't have been the case had he been healthy. And Pat Riley, he didn't take too kindly to that, firing back with this,
"Or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut."
That was a major moment between these two men, and it showed that there was a growing rift between them. Riley has always been smart, strategic, and careful with his public moves. The fact that he was willing to speak like that about one of his players said a lot, and fans immediately started to prepare for Jimmy to leave. Meanwhile, Butler and his management wanted a contract extension, and a big one at that. They felt he was worth it, and he had done so much for the Heat. It was the right thing to do, they argued, but Riley was obviously still peeved because of Jimmy's words to the press, and no extension was granted. Things completely collapsed at that point. Throughout the beginning of the 2024-25 season, there were rumors of Jimmy eyeing an exit. Then, it all hit the fan when he allegedly demanded a trade from the Heat. What followed was the team stating that Jimmy wasn't going anywhere, then multiple suspensions, and finally admitting that they would hear offers on his contract. He was officially relegated to the sidelines, not permitted to play with his team as the front office contemplated their choices and chose where Jimmy would go.
And the Miami Heat have suspended Jimmy Butler indefinitely. This is his third suspension just this month, delivered by the Miami Heat for essentially conduct detrimental to the team and what the team describes repeated issues and violations of team rules.
When the team did try to get Jimmy involved, he missed flights and walked off the court during practice sessions. He was making it clear that he would make life hell for the Heat unless he got what he wanted. But ultimately, he had no say in the matter. He could make his opinions and desires known, but the Heat held all the power, and they were the ones who could determine the next step in his career. And because things had gotten so ugly, they had no reason to give in to his demands and make him happy. In fact, some fans argued that they should do the opposite and send him to the worst team in the league, which would be the harshest revenge against someone who claims they are a natural and unstoppable competitor. It's rare to see a player have a legacy ruined so much. The Miami Heat fan base used to love Jimmy Butler and imagined a day when his jersey would hang from the rafters. They thought he would be the team's leader and, more importantly, a champion, and for a while it looked like he could be. But the conflict between Jimmy and the Heat became too much, and the entire situation collapsed under the weight of ego, desire, and disrespect. No side walked away unscathed, and fans felt burned by the whole thing. They wanted another championship banner to celebrate, and instead they got more drama than they ever anticipated.